Hi everyone, I'm Kerry-Ann Augustin and welcome back to another episode of the SERANI SEMBANG webcast. And today with me, I have quite an interesting fellow. I'm sure some of you, especially those of you who love music, know this man very well. And a welcome to the show, Mr. Paul Augustin.
Hi. Thanks, Kerry-Ann.
Hi, Paul. I
Hi.
see you're seated in your wonderful house of music in Penang.
Yes, it's the Kopitiam corner. We call it the Kopitiam corner.
Kopitiam Corner. I see a lot of photos of that on the web.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people like take photos of this place because it's quite nice, I think.
It's nice. It's quite nostalgic. You've got the bird cage there. You've got the jukebox at the back.
Yeah.
It takes you back to good old days, lah.
Yeah, yeah. It's right.
But anyway, yeah, Paul, thanks for joining us today. So of course we're here to celebrate you and your success. Paul is of course the founder and festival director of the long-standing, wonderful Penang Island Jazz Festival. He's also the co-author of Just for the Love of It: Popular Music in Penang 1930s to 1960s, the founder and director of the Penang House of Music, and of course, most recently, the recipient of the 17th Camis, as we know it, Art Awards for the Game Changer Awards, of course. So, Paul, the first thing I have to ask you is when you got the news that you were awarded this recognition of Game Changer, where were you and what was going through your mind?
Actually, it was quite interesting because I didn't know what they were doing. What does a game changer has to do? You
Yep.
know, when they
Yep.
asked me that,
Yep.
and they said, oh, you're a game changer. We're awarding you, and I like, oh wow, it's interesting. But being human, of course, I think back and I said, wow, so now people recognize what I do. So it's quite
It's
interesting.
like finally.
Okay, not finally, but but it's good to also tell your story. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, and hopefully we can sort of like inspire younger people to dream. That's the most
Yeah.
important thing. Yeah.
I've heard rumors that you wanted to be a cowboy when you were young.
Yep, that's true. That's true. I had a cowboy suit. I had my wooden rocking horse, that kind of thing. Then they didn't have any jobs for cowboys, so I had
Yeah.
to look for other things to do. So that
That's
was
too
quite
bad, lah.
tough. Like, yeah, lah.
I would have prepared a horse and all for you, but
Yeah,
oh well, one can dream.
yeah,
So let's just talk about the thing that you first started, which was the Penang Island Jazz Festival. And I think when you first mooted that idea of a jazz fest, people thought you were crazy. So how
yes.
did you what kept you sort of going for that dream of yours?
At that time, we had basically a events company. We started. That was 1996 and 96. And before that, I was working with the Stadium Shala. So I had
Mm-hmm.
this idea of doing a jazz festival.
Right.
It was actually a festival, but eventually we locked on to doing a jazz festival. And for 8 years, I carried the idea around with me. And we were actually contracted to do a few festivals. In 2002, I think we did the Sunrise Jazz Festival. I was asked to put together,
Okay.
mainly to program the festival and manage the festival. Then after 2003, we did Phillips Jazz Festival. We were asked to do, and also the no, Kuching Jazz Festival.
Mm-hmm.
That was,
Mm-hmm.
I think they only happened a couple of years. But then we
Okay.
realized that whenever people ask you to do anything, then after that they feel that maybe they can do themselves, or they can, they decide not to do this anymore. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
yeah. So and then we had built a few contacts. We had a few contacts and a bit of know-how to do this, and then they said, okay, let's do our own. When we talk to anybody else, everybody says, no, you do jazz festival, it's not going to work. Jazz is an idea that is for old people, the
I
music.
see. I see.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
So then what best to do? You have to do your own. And one of the reasons was because there were two things that an event company that we realized have to have. One is either you lock yourself onto advertising agency or PR agency, and
Hmm.
you have constantly have work, or
Okay.
you start your own event, and that will
Right.
give you
Right.
constant work. So we said, okay, let's do this. Like, let's try the jazz festival. And yes, I spoke to some good friends, and they say, "You mad? Are you going to lose everything? You take the chance,
Hmm.
But I have this notion that when you have an idea, no, when you always get into trouble when you have nothing better to do. Then you
Okay.
tend to sit down and say, okay, why don't I do this? Why don't I do that? And then you get in trouble, and then you say, okay, let's do it. And there are thousands and thousands of people who have the same idea. When you
Right.
start
Right.
something, they will say, "Oh, I thought of this idea before. I could have done it as well." But thinking and doing it are two different things. So I don't want to live until when I'm 80 years old. Last time 70 lah. Now I'm getting closer to 70, so I must say 80 years old, saying that, oh yeah, I should have done this. I should have done that. And it's a bit too late. By that time, you're too old to do anything.
So would you
So
say like you would rather failed in an idea rather than regret not doing it at all? Would you say that?
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
More, it's like that actually. I don't want to live my life, if possible, on
Mm.
regrets. And if
Nice. Yep.
if I if I do it and if it doesn't work, at least I tried. At least
Yep.
I tried. Rather than, oh yeah, I should have done this. Oh yeah, I should. I
True that.
tend
Yeah.
should have. I tend to live according to. I try not to regret what I do because I
Hmm.
learn from the mistakes, but I regret what I never did.
Right.
There were some things that, oh yeah, I should have done. One of the things I regretted as the years went by was I remember seeing Tunku Abdul Rahman, our Prime
Okay.
Minister, first Prime Minister of
Yeah.
Malaysia, and he was in a shopping complex in Penang, and he was just
Nice.
standing there. And I was looking, I said, maybe I should go and talk to him, maybe I should go and talk to him. And then I didn't do it. And I regret it to this day. I should have just
Like that
walked to him and
moment just
said,
sort of plays
yeah,
back you and
yeah,
say, I should have done something. Yeah.
yeah. So, and I live, and I think about things like that, and I said, I should have done it. Like, if the worst he could have done is just like ignore me. But
Right.
I'm sure that he would have said hi and spoke to me,
I'm
A
sure he
young
would
guy
have.
walked up to him, you see?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this has led me to think about things that I do that, I should do. If I fail, fine, at least I tried.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how we started doing the thing.
And
Yeah.
you didn't fail because now the Penang Island Jazz Fest, it's what it is in its 14th, is it 14th
Yeah.
year this year?
Up up to this 2017, I think we stopped it in 2018. 2018 we didn't do it. 2017 we did 14 years, an
Yeah.
independent festival which was mainly funded by us,
Okay.
but we stopped for 2 years. But I like to say that because when we posted the stop, it was we closed a chapter, but we did not close the book. So I always
Oh.
tell people I can always start it again. It's
Yeah.
up to us because we own the festival. We want to do it. It's up to us. So, but
Absolutely, and it's got so
mm,
much great, attention from a lot of musicians, not just within Malaysia, but also around the world that have performed at the festival over the years.
yes, yes, and one of the things I wanted, a friend of mine also, he's from Korea, and we always tell people we want to do the festival because we want to travel, and we don't want to pay for it.
Sounds like a
So
valid
yeah,
reason to me.
yeah, we got invited. We got invited to attend a lot of meetings in countries that I
Mhm.
would never think of visiting.
Think
Like
of visiting, yeah.
yeah, like Norway or New Zealand,
Yeah, that's
London,
amazing.
Spain, and all that. So I got invited mainly because of the festival.
Right, right.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Paul, I have to
Sorry.
ask you, why jazz?
Okay, very simple. When we looked at it, it was a lot of people say, "Why don't you put music?" But you have to look into something. Jazz fest. The most music festivals in the world are jazz festivals. The longest running festivals in the world are jazz festivals.
Wow.
And
Okay.
and musicians, every country, if you throw, there will definitely be at
Be
least
a
one
jazz.
jazz musician. You see?
Yep. Yep. Yep.
So then I have a because jazz is mainly and also it's quite safe doing jazz because if you apply for license, I said I'm going to do a rock festival, government is not going to give me,
That's true.
or
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so jazz is quite a safe word next to
It's safe.
classical.
Yeah. Mm,
Yeah,
mm.
so and it gives you the opportunity to also be open. There were many types of music. It's not just like smooth jazz or Latin jazz or swing jazz.
Right.
There was
Right.
world jazz and jazz fusion and rock, and there was a
Yeah.
lot of things out there. It's people who are innovative who interpret the music in a different way.
And I
So
think it also gives that opportunity, like you said, because there's so many varieties of jazz, and a lot of people when you say jazz, they think Kenny G,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
so it exposes that spectrum of what jazz really, encompasses so many different kind of genres and even
yeah.
new stuff. That's great.
And yeah, and people said, oh, jazz is old music, but I said, talk about Michael Bublé and Nora
Yeah.
Jones. They were young,
Right. Mm.
and there's one saying by Ray Charles, he's not he says that I'm not a jazz singer, I'm not a blues singer, I'm not a rock singer, I'm a singer that plays country, jazz, and all other stuff. You see. So
Yeah.
there are other musicians that also dabble in jazz music as
In
well.
jazz.
It's just a
Yeah.
form of
Yeah.
music, is it? That's
True.
about it. So
Um, okay, and speaking about the jazz festival, I think one of the major things that you introduced in 2008 was the Jimmy Boyle Young Talent Jazz Competition. And so, just out of can you tell us a bit about Jimmy Boyle, the legend that he is, and why you chose to name the competition after him?
it actually started because uh, I had my own heroes, my own musical heroes when I was growing up.
Right.
Internationally, of course, there were the Beatles, Deep Purple, Uriah Heep, and all that. But my local heroes as well, and I found that there were not many people who knew who they were. And in the
Right.
festival itself, we had an exhibition.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, we started putting posters, photographs, and all the other things. And then it got me thinking, let's do personality profiles, So I went to research about Jimmy Paul and
Right.
I got some information about it. I said, man, this guy was great. A lot
Yeah.
of us
Yeah.
don't know what he did. You see, so it was amazing, especially when you listen to his music as well. So, and he was a recognized uh, trendsetter in the days, like you would say. So why not name him Jimmy? Why not name the competition Jimmy Ball Young
After
Talent
Jimmy
Jazz
Boyle.
Competition? Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
So that's one thing, but that led on to other things. You see, but please note, from the festival to all these other things, it was never a plan. It was just let's do. Oh, then it leads to that. Oh wow. so
Right. Right. So one thing sort of led on to another, and it just grows.
yes, yeah, it does that. That's right.
And Jimmy Boyle has a son who's also a jazz musician. Am I
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah.
Is it Singapore or
No, no, no. He's in KL. He teaches at
oh
Aswara.
yeah?
James.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah,
Um, and of course, Jimmy Boyle was one of the many I think SERANI musicians
yeah.
in
And
Penang. Yep.
I have to tell you something about Jimmy Wall. Basically, Jimmy Wall was teaching in the school I was, which was La Salle
Okay.
School. I come
Okay.
Penang,
Right.
and he never really taught me, but somehow or rather, this stayed with me ever since I was young. I was about maybe 10 or 11 years old, and we had a
Mhm.
sports day. And I
Okay.
remember the sports day very clear. I don't know why. It was I arrived there, I had to cross this big drain to get to the field, and we walked to the field. It was very gloomy and dark because it was like it was going to rain. And
Right.
the announcement was that Jimmy Ball had just passed away. So
Oh man.
um, we're going to have a minute silence for him.
Hmm.
And until today, I can still picture where I was standing, what what was said, and all those things. And I remember so clear. And for me, it was like, why do I remember this? I don't know. See?
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
But it just
so
stood out in your memory.
yes, it did. It did. It just stayed with me all those years. You see, so maybe it's one of the things that I'm supposed to do in life. I don't know.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
But also in that, you're saying like how you realize so many people really knew about Jimmy Boyle and other, musicians as well from Penang, and that actually started this whole idea of the Penang House of Music, knowing that people didn't realize that there were musicians like this.
Yes, actually, what we did was that we started doing personality profiles for the exhibition, the gallery,
Yep,
we call it, for
the
the
gallery. Okay,
gallery for the festival.
okay,
And we started, of course, with Jimmy Boyle, then we did Ahmad Marikan, then we did Joe Roselles, we did Ruby Roselles and Rajamani Brothers, and then Ahmad
nice.
Nawa, and all these people. So we collecting this, and people started finding out that, oh, you all were doing this, so why don't you write a book? And I said, no, 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 I'm not going to write a book because I'll be under a lot of pressure at that time. I just wanted to carry on doing this first. I said, when the time
Yeah,
is right, maybe we'll take a look at the book. And one thing led to another, and in 2010, 2009, 2010, we were asked to put together an exhibition,
yeah,
Penang's
yeah.
popular music of the 1940s and 50s.
Right.
And we had a small budget. We were approached by the Penang State Museum,
Mhm.
and had a very, very small budget. And James Lockett, my partner in crime who did this, I said, hey, James, I want to do this. He's an Englishman. And he said,
Okay.
okay, like if we don't do it, nobody's going to do it. So yeah, we did it. And we had only about 3 months, 2 or 3 months of just a very little time to put it together. But we
Yeah.
already collected information, and it was quite easy because 1940s and 50s, most of the people have already passed on or they
Mm-hmm.
can't remember. So and we had a small space that we could curate. It was basically enter, walk up the first floor, and then you turn the corridor, and then we had one room and all that.
Yep.
And we were very excited. I think the exhibition ran for about 2 or 3 months, something.
At the
And
Penangs, no, sorry, at the Penang
in
State
the
Museum.
State Museum, that
Okay.
was in
Okay.
Farquhar Street. It's the
Yeah.
old State Museum. And
Yes.
I think we found that people really liked it. People had really, and they had a very good response to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then in 2013, Think City got involved and they said, hey, you did 40s and 50s, let's do 60s now. And we're like 60s, a
Wow.
lot of them are still alive. I got to go and talk to everybody and collect and make sure you try to put as many people inside.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I said we needed a bigger budget, and we needed and we had 11 rooms because by then the State Museum
Wow.
had moved to McAllister Road, so it was a huge old building that had 11
Yeah.
rooms
Yeah.
still, and we had about 8 months to put it together,
Mm-hmm.
something like that.
Right. Right.
And so I would spend mornings talking to the old guys, listening to stories,
That's
and
so
we
cool.
yeah, and then go to the National Archives and do research and all that kind of stuff. But I tell
Was
you,
it when you did your research? Was it like I can't remember? I think I spoke to you about this, but was
hmm,
it? Um, did it span like a couple of years for you to find everything you need? Like you
no,
know, National Archives or anything? How long did it take?
8 months actually. I had 8 months
8 months.
to do
Oh,
to put not the book but the museum, the
but the
exhibition,
museum. Okay.
exhibition.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
the
Right.
exhibition.
Right.
So 8 months, and it took up a lot of my time. It took up a lot of my time, a lot of mornings driving up. I was stationed in KL at the time, so I had to drive up
Right.
to the night and then
But
spend mornings with people and talk to them and all that kind of stuff.
and what did you find from talking to all these musicians who were there in the 50s and 60s?
It's actually interesting because a lot of them nobody cared. Nobody cares about the musicians who actually the working musicians. And
Okay.
everyone I spoke to, when you ask them about the their work or they did or whatever they did when they're young playing music, they had a twinkle in their eye. They really had a twinkle, and it was like, and a smile will appear, and then they will say, "Oh man, we used to do this. It was so much fun, and they will laugh about it. We didn't get paid, or we got paid a little bit, but it was fun just listening to music, getting together, and I think later on when I did the book, I interviewed one. The two guys told me something which I found very interesting. One was,
Okay.
um, you know, he said everything that the guys are doing now in music, the people of that time had already done it. They were already playing at a level which is very high.
Hmm.
And I didn't understand until I did research and I found, wow, they were really good, really good. The standard of music was very good.
So
And
high. Yeah.
another guy told me was that, you know, he said, I stay in my house, and then, on this side, this person is playing guitar, and that side, the person is playing drums, and across the
Hmm.
road, somebody is building instruments. And, everything was in the 60s, early 60s, as you're growing up. If you didn't play music, it was a sin. It was a sin not to play music.
Yeah.
So, and you talk to them, and it was the excitement just gets you.
Right.
And the story was a very nice story to tell. So we did the exhibition, and we were surprised. We sent out the invitations, and people came from London, Brunei,
Wow.
Kuala Lumpur. They just came,
Yeah.
and a lot of them had not met each other for 40 years.
That's
You
amazing.
know,
That's really amazing.
so yeah, and it was just watching that was so much fun.
Yeah.
Old guys
Yeah.
talking to each other.
Right.
Getting
So
excited.
even though the of course the Penang House of Music opened, when did it open? November
16.
2016, right? But
Yes.
actually prior to that opening, this whole collection of what you had at the gallery sort of came together in a book, which was
Yeah.
just for the love of it.
Yes.
So for you, while you were researching this book and co-authoring everything, when you look back at the whole book, and if anyone's watching this right now, whoever's watching this, I've read Just for the Love of It, and I think I'm totally lost in it, even though I may have not been born in that era. But it doesn't only tell the story of music in Penang, it also tells Penang's story, which makes it very unique. And of course, my family's roots are in Penang, so it's something that we can relate to, because my parents or my uncles or aunties constantly talk about Penang, of course, and their food and
Yeah.
music. So for you, while you were doing all these things, what made Penang's music or music heritage so unique during those eras from the 30s to the 60s?
Actually, the story about Penang is a story that's in many places in different parts of the world as well. We've had
Hmm.
people who actually, after that, when they bought the book and they say, "Oh, it's so much like Johor Bahru." Or we had a friend who was in Italy and he says, "Well, it talks about this. It's about the people." Um, Sorry, I forgot your question.
No, what made Penang's musical heritage so unique
Okay.
for those eras? Yeah.
I think not only Penang but the whole of Malaysia, but Penang being a
Okay.
port, I think it was the catalyst for a lot of things. Same as
Hmm.
Singapore, later on.
Okay.
And when people came, Penang was a port, a very important port. So people came here to look for the pot of gold, find, walk the yellow brick road,
Right.
and
Right.
they came here maybe to run away from authorities or maybe to get a better life or whatever it is. And
Hmm.
when the people came from all over the world, they brought their cultures, their traditions, and they brought their music. So
Right.
one
Right.
one example I give is that we have a lot of streets or roads in Penang. We have China Street, we have Malay Street, we have Julius streets where the Julius lived and all that, Armenian streets where the Armenians were. So these were where
Yeah.
the kampongs were, lah, the villages were.
Hmm.
And if you are a little boy born in China or born in India, when you grow up to listen, and you listen only to listen to Chinese music and also the Indian music. But here you are in Penang in the early 1900s or late 1800s, and there's no television, there's no Wi-Fi, there's no mobile phone, nothing. So people after work, you can't afford. So they what they do is they gather outside. They gather outside the houses and they start playing music from the homeland. So if you're walking down the street, you will hear Chinese, Indian, Malay, Arabic, all types of music. That's
Yeah.
you know. So it's special. And from a point of music, as a musician, a performing, I was a musician for 15 years,
Okay.
and we take things for granted. But now looking back, I realized that the house where I grew up in, on my right I had Chinese, and then on my left I had a Malay house, and the back was an Indian house. And you just listen to the radios that were going on, it was like, wow, all the different types. And when you play music, you play for, say, function. It
Yeah.
could be, whatever it is, like, a wedding or a dinner or whatever. And then you get one uncle come out and say, I want to sing Chinese song. And the musicians would just say, yeah, sure, you sing. We were the karaoke machines of those days, you see. And we just say, and
Right.
then
Right.
he will hum the song, and we'll say, oh yeah, I've heard the song before. Or one uncle will come, hey, you can play joget or what, and then we will play. One person in the band has to start.
Yeah.
And it's like our DNA is rooted into different types of music. Subconsciously we've picked up all these sounds and everything. So that is what made not only musicians in Malaysia, in Penang, but Malaysia, and to a certain extent,
Yeah.
where we were very adaptable to different types of music. When
Yeah.
people say,
Yeah.
like, can you play rock? Can you play jazz? Can you play country? We can. We can also play Indian music, Chinese music, and Malay music.
Right.
What
Right.
type of, So, in a way, we are blessed because of that. Like, it's
So, and
cool.
you can actually hear those influences in all the different kinds of music that you hear over in those eras, I'm sure, in
Not only
one
the
way or another.
music, yeah, the way we talk also is the same. You in one
Right.
sentence
Right.
you can put a bit of Indian, a bit of Malay, a bit of Chinese, all in one sentence. You just mix it up. You talk to another Malaysian, and they will understand what you're talking about.
True that. It's a wonderful world of Manglish.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
okay, we'll get back to the Penang House of Music, of course, is where you
Mm.
are sitting now. And
Yeah.
um, tell us a bit about what people can experience when they actually get to the Penang House of Music.
It's when we built this place, when we were asked to do this place, so basically, we thought of doing it the easiest way possible. And this
Mhm.
time and age was basically to Google, find
Right.
something else that exists, and then copy and paste lah. And
Okay.
then we realized in none, there was nothing like that. And then we said die lah, because now we at least said we're going to do something with it. And originally we just wanted a resource center because we had collected so much information, and we just
That's right.
wanted to make sure that it's made available to the younger people. For me, it was so hard to get. The younger people worse.
Yeah.
So when we were asked to do it, then we started look. Then we said, okay, now what do we do? So we realized that Penang had a fantastic story to tell. So we used whatever in our resources and from the books and all that, and we built the place. So it's a journey. It's a journey that you walk through the whole area. So it
Cool.
comprises basically of three sections. One is the
Okay.
black box.
Mm-hmm.
The black box is where we have performances, we have workshops, we have exhibitions. You can sit about 100 people inside there.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's black. It's black, so you don't have to clean it so much. So it's what you call.
Great idea, Paul. I think I'll
Yeah,
paint my room black now. Yeah.
yeah. And then the other part was the gallery. So the galleries, we tell the story of how people came. We start with the communities, which is actually the 1800s, early 1900s. And then from
Nice.
there, we move on to another section, is 1940s, during the war, how the musicians survived emergency, and then carry through and play some of the music. And we had to create interactive things as well. So in 2016, we were already doing that. We have a listening chair, we have interactive
Wow.
puppets, we have augmented reality,
Okay.
virtual reality, and even if as a DJ, you can record yourself and make a dedication out, and then
Sweet.
yeah. So we had ideas that we implemented then. You see? And it's like we have so many things we can still keep changing, but of course everything is money lah, so
Yeah. Yeah,
so
but I think that's great though. It's because it's not just, the old school type what people think it is. Just not just galleries. It's interactive. You can actually, and I
yeah,
think there are some instruments as well. People can have a
yeah,
feel of these instruments
yeah,
too,
yeah.
which is great.
We have instruments. We have a Hawaiian guitar that people can play, and
Nice.
the third portion, the third part of the place is actually the most important place. It's the heartbeat of
Okay.
the whole thing. It's the resource
Right.
center. So it's
Okay.
where we document and we digitize things, and we've got huge collection, more than 10,000 vinyls. We have hundreds of
Wow.
magazines, thousands of photographs,
My
and
goodness.
we have become sort of like heartbeat where people come and do research here, especially for the
Yeah.
art, music, and performing arts. We've
Right.
attracted a
Right.
lot of researchers, academicians, who come
Hmm.
from KL, Singapore, Australia, UK, even America, Japan,
Wow.
Taiwan,
That's
and
amazing. That's really something.
it's interesting because when they do research for something, and we realize, oh, we got that. We didn't know that we had that. Certain things that we had. We had
But it must.
sorry.
Sorry, and I was saying it must have taken quite a bit to digitize a lot of things.
It's ongoing process because when you digitize something, it's real time. You can't just fast forward, copy everything and put. You have to play the thing
Yeah,
and
yeah.
make sure the record doesn't jump and get stuck, tunk, 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 and then you do it again. And the people. We had one guy from Taiwan come and he said he wanted to do music of Hokkien songs. He had written a book on I think Singapore or Malacca, and then he
Okay.
came to Penang. And he
Okay.
said, "Can you take out some of the records?" And we showed him what we had, and I can't read Chinese, so he took. And one of the records he was playing, I was sitting in the office, and I
Yeah.
was like, "Hey, this is Bangawan solo, but it's being sung in Hokkien, and with
What?
the koronchong beat."
Yeah.
I said, "Wow, this is interesting." Then he turns the record and plays the other side. It's a 78. 78 only one song one side. He plays
Okay.
the other side, and it's actually Negaraku, in Hokkien.
What?
And that
That's
got me out of my
amazing.
chair. Like, it was done keroncong, and I've heard versions in English, Malay, Japanese, Cantonese, Mandarin, but never in Hokkien. So it was like,
Right.
oh, we got that. Wow. So,
That's incredible.
yeah,
Eh?
yeah. So it's interesting. It was a recording before 1951, I think, 51 or something around there.
Outstanding. Wow.
Yeah,
So it's really a great place to you know
yeah.
to
We have
find
not.
things
Yeah,
even you guys don't know about. Yeah.
we haven't finished digitizing it because it's so
Mhm.
long. We've got interns working with us, so we are continuing doing that as well.
Okay. Okay. That's
It will
cool.
take forever, lah. You know.
And how is the Penang House of Music open every day, or are there certain days they're closed?
We had to close for the MCO, of course, like everything
Okay.
else.
Yes. Yes.
And we opened up first thing to clean the place and had a look at the place and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But we actually today is our first day that we really take in visitors.
Okay.
We can't do it anymore. Then we have to look at how do we do it. We can't open and let people go in because the SOP was that you have to clean, especially in the after the visitors come in and leave, and you
Okay.
can't have a lot of people. So we came up with something that we thought about, which is that we have two tours a day, which is the first one starts at 11:30 to 2 o'clock, and then we have to clean the place up, and then
Mm-hmm.
the next tour starts at 2:30 to 5 o'clock, and
Great.
it's only 3 days a week: Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, because in between we need to let the equipment and things rest, because it's not so much that the cleaning, but some of the things we have are old radios and computers.
Maintenance.
Yeah, and then if you clean it too often, the chemicals will spoil the things.
Gross up, man. Yeah.
Yeah, Rosa then
Yeah.
is Koya already. So, and then on
Yeah.
top of that, what we're doing is that we are doing some recording now as well.
Oh,
The
cool.
old guys playing, and then we've got I think Potehi coming up, and also Chinese opera that we are going to record. It's quiet,
Sounds
so they use
awesome.
our place. It is going to be fun. We had the
Yeah,
first recording. We had the first recording last week of three guys, three old guys. That's not the three old guys, like that's one of them. Two of them. Lender, Bonnie, and we got SM Idrus. And Lender and SM Idrus haven't seen each other for like 40 to 50 years. And
yeah,
we're going to upload it soon, but it's recorded
cool.
of them meeting and just jamming. And
Yeah,
and we played a few songs and we recorded and it was like wow, it was fun. And we're going to put it up and I think people will get a kick out of watching these guys.
looking forward to it. Looking forward to
Yeah,
it. I'm sure they had so much fun
yeah,
just like going back to that source of joy for them, you know?
yeah.
And okay, sorry, Paul,
Yeah,
you're saying?
yeah. No, when you look at the older guys who come in, and when they leave the time, they have a spring in their step.
Mm,
It's like they've lost about 10 years of their lives, or they suddenly they get excited when they come in, like, wow, look at this, I know this guy, I know that guy, and
yeah,
it takes them back to a certain time. Music is such a powerful tool, man. In the 60s when it
absolutely.
became electronic, it changed the world, basically.
Yeah,
The way people walk, the way people talk, the way people think, suddenly it became very different, you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
Music is very powerful,
It is. It
extremely
is.
powerful. Yeah, yeah. And if anyone wants to find out more about the Penang House of Music, the times that it's open or closed, I think people can follow you on Facebook
Yep.
as well as Instagram
Yep.
and on Snapchat as well. Do you have the address for Facebook if anybody wants to find out?
Uh, we have a website also. It's
Okay.
www.penanghouseofmusic.com. And
Okay.
Facebook is just Penang House of Music. If you log on, you get most of the information on Facebook itself,
Right.
that kind of stuff.
Right. Cool. And as well as, are you still? I know that the first two editions, I believe, of Just for the Love of It was sold out. Do
Ooh,
you
wow.
have an upcoming print as well? If anybody wants to get their hands on the book, where can they find it?
Yeah, it's actually gone into third print. The
Mm-hmm.
first print actually when we printed it the first time, it sold out in 2 months. And then we
No
had to rush.
surprise there.
Yeah, we were like, oh, okay, no more books ready. So our publisher, which is Gerak Budaya, PJ, uh,
Mm-hmm.
went in the second print and it sold out. And now they've gone into third print, and it's actually you can get it from the Penang House of Music, but you can
Okay.
also get it at Gerak Budaya
Okay.
in
Gerabuda
KL,
and
in,
PJ.
in
Yes.
PJ,
Mm-hmm.
yes, they are the
Okay.
publishers. I
Or
think they also mail also the thing.
can people
All right.
email you guys the Penang House of Music to let you all know that they'd like a copy if they're living anywhere outside Penang or Malaysia for that matter?
Yeah, it's possible, but what we will do is that we will direct them to the if they are in Penang, then we can send it to them
Right.
easier,
Right.
or
Right.
we can tell them where to go and get it, and
Okay.
shouldn't be a problem. Yes, they can contact us through
Fantastic.
our website. Yes.
That's great. So anyone who's looking to get acquainted with Penang's music scene as well as the work done by Paul and the many musicians in Penang and the wonderful influences that we see all around, you got to get your hands on a copy of that book. So Paul, thank you so much for making time today to talk to us about everything that you've done for music, and not
Yeah.
just in Penang, but Malaysia in general, and your dedication to it, pushing aside your cowboy dreams to this music. We really appreciate that as well.
Mm.
And of course, it's always nice, talking to other cousins.
Yeah, but it's not a one person's job.
Absolutely.
For the book and the exhibitions, of course, I work with James Lockhead, who helped me a lot. And Adrian Chia, who designed the book and actually basically designed the place as well. My business partner. It's not me alone. I get the
Yeah.
idea and I run with the idea, and then they all
It's
sort
a
of like
team effort, lah.
it put me in place and said, no, no, Paul, you cannot do this. No, Paul, you can't do that. Because you get excited because it's very important that not only for us to do all this, but I feel that all the musicians, the artists, the dancers, the stage people, everyone is a storyteller. Every one of
Absolutely.
them,
Yeah.
and they tell stories in different ways. The dancer by the movements of the hands and the legs and whatever, the musicians through the music, and the people doing drama and theater is doing. So they are storytellers, and it's very important that the arts must be kept alive. The music and the
Absolutely.
arts, definitely, you know,
Absolutely. Yep.
yeah.
And good job. And I mean, everyone, even a lot of young musicians I know are
Mm.
going all out to keep art forms alive, not just one kind of art form, all kinds of art forms. So it's
And
it's it's
digitize and
important.
document because
Digitize
people
and
always
document.
want, yeah, people want to know what happened.
And
And they
one
look
last
back.
question, one last question
What's that?
before we end this. Throughout this whole process, why did you find it so important to keep this music heritage alive, especially for younger people and younger musicians?
I think because like I said, the musicians and the whatever it is performing us have a story to
Hmm.
tell,
Yep.
and it's always good that there were three things when we built the House of Music we looked at. Number one was we have to recognize and acknowledge the older musicians, what they stand for, what they did, why they did the things, and all that. And it's good to recognize that. And for the present musicians, we create a space where they can get together, they can help to promote, or create a black box play in it, or to build contacts and to try and help them to do whatever they have to do. And the third thing is actually to hopefully inspire the younger future generation, aspire them to reach for heights and all that. If a person from Penang, a boy who wanted to be a cowboy when I was growing up, you know, can do these things. I think that everything is possible. If you reach for the stars, then you touch the sky also cukup lah.
Cukup lah.
Cukup lah, But it's been fun. It's fun what I do. What I set out to do is there was never a plan like, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And
Yeah.
don't always think about the money. Yes, we need the money, but if you live your life according to what you want to do, it's more interesting, right? Lah?
Yeah. Yeah.
And can make
So just
money,
follow
can
your
make
heart.
money lagi best. You have to be patient. Lah. It will eventually pay off. Like, just
Okay.
make sure. Yeah,
Cool. Thank you so much, Paul.
you,
Of course,
you're
always
welcome.
nice catching up virtually on, especially this sembanging on Serani Sembang.
Yeah, that's
So
cool, man.
hope to see you soon in Penang at the Penang House of Music.
Yes, please drop by. You already too long already never come.
Long due, long overdue lah.
Oh,
We hope.
you wrote about the book. I remember you interviewed me about the book. How
Yes,
many
yes.
years ago?
Gosh, it was years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah. So a
yeah,
long overdue visit, but glad to have you here, and thank you, Vernon, for arranging this as well.
yeah,
And yeah, we hope to see you soon, maybe in your next endeavor or something, Paul. We never know
yeah.
what
Lah.
kind of stuff you'll
Trouble I
be up
get
to.
myself into.
Mostly
Trouble.
trouble lah. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Sarani boy, Sarani boy.
Terrible lah, these fellas all. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Paul. We'll see you again soon.
Thanks, Kerry-Ann. Bye.
All right. See you.
Bye.
Bye.